Bella Vista Gardening Program. I am Charlotte Brunje, and joining me today is Grant Cameron. And Grant is from the Village Garden and Landscaping Company, which is owned by Brian Grossnickel. And Brian has been in the business for 11 years, and I'm sure some of you have visited his center on Trafalgar. The upcoming events in our area are going to be the plant sale. We're going to talk about that, and some easy and creative things to do with container gardening. And we'll also talk about what you need to be doing in your garden in May. The upcoming events are the plant sale, and this is the Bella Vista Gardening Club Spring Annual Plant Sale. It will be held Saturday, May 4th at the Tanyard Pavilion from 8 until 1. So if you're watching this program after May 1st, you can still buy plants, and they will be at the Village Wastewater Company, and that's off of Highway 71. And you can purchase those Monday through Friday, 9 to 3 p.m. Also, you may want to stop and go to Compton Gardens and check out their plant sale on May 11th. Don't forget Crystal Bridges Trails. Every week in spring they have something new and different that will be blooming. Now for today's program, we're going to watch the Master Gardener, Judy Geigle, and she's going to talk about shade plants in her containers. And the shade plants she'll be speaking about will be hostas. Now for the DVD.
Welcome to Meet the Masters. We're in Bentonville, Arkansas at the home of Judy and Steve Geigle. Now Judy has a glorious English-style garden, and we're anxious for you to see it today. I see Judy working down there in the shade garden, so let's go meet her.
I've lived on this property for 18 years, and so the garden is 18 years old. But of course, over the years, we've added to the garden. We added a koi pond about 7 years ago, and areas where I found I couldn't grow grass, I just kept expanding the existing beds. I consider my garden style an English type garden. I was influenced on my visits to England, where everybody had these beautiful gardens, and that's what I've tried to duplicate.
Judy, I just love this border. Your inspiration out here.
Well, my first inspiration is that this is the sunny area, so I could branch out from the shade and enjoy some sun perennials. This phlox was given to me by my mother's sister, and I planted this. It sort of took over. Last year we had to thin it out a lot. Then I needed some height, and so I've added clematis and the new dawn rose, and you know, every year it just sort of changes from year to year. Well, my garden specialty is shade gardening, but my gardening passion is container gardening, and I began container gardening because there were areas of my garden where I needed to add color and dimension, and it was so rocky I wasn't able to plant the plants in the ground, so containers solved my problem. My favorite perennial is a hosta. It's because I have a lot of shade and I can grow them successfully, and they're very easy. You plant them, they're very reliable on coming back up. When they die down in the winter, you don't have to cut them off. And my favorite hosta is a striptease. It's a tricolor hosta that I found. And then my most unusual hosta is called a drinking gourd. Beth, I want to show you my most unusual hosta. I bought it, this is only its second year. It's called a drinking gourd hosta. It has very cupped leaves and deep veining, and I think as a mature plant it's going to be such a great unusual addition to this spot.
Where did you find this hosta?
I bought it at Hilltop Nursery in Ash Grove, Missouri. You know, it's just about 10 minutes off of I-44 before you get to Springfield. There are 3 deer that come out here, but you know, I have good luck using that mile organite. throw them all organite away, and see, I can sit in that sunroom and I can watch them sort of sniff around. Yesterday I was talking on the phone and there was one eating these ferns. I said, just a minute. I came out and go, don't eat the fern today. And the only place that I have not had success with that is that there is a urn over here that it now has a lime green elephant ear in it, but it used to have this beautiful hosta, tall hosta, and they will not leave it alone. It's just right at their level. My earliest childhood memories about gardening is watching my mother plant coleus. And at the time, I thought, those are the ugliest plants. Why does she take the time to get out there and plant those coleus? And now that's one of my very favorite plants because I don't know if there's new varieties that they just add so much color and texture to gardening. Well, the thing about myself that no one would ever guess is that I'm a native of Arkansas. I've never lived anyplace else but Arkansas. I've educated in Arkansas, and all but one of my immediate family, including my brother, sister, and their children, still live in Arkansas. Well, my future plans for the garden is to try to take it back about 5 or 6 years ago when I had these beautiful winding paths through all of my beds. A lot of stepping stones that you can't even find now because ground covers have taken over, and so I've realized in the last year that I need to do some house cleaning in the garden.
As you can see from Judy Geigle's garden, there are many variables and options. Today, Grant and I are going to be planting in different containers. I'm going to use this little bird cage to plant in. And
I brought a little wooden box, little rustic wooden box to use.
Okay, so we're going to be planting back and forth and kind of telling you about what we're doing with our containers. I put a cocoa mat and a plastic liner on the bottom of my bird cage. And I'm going to add some peanuts, these packing peanuts that help. And what else helps in the bottom of these?
Gravel, you can also use the smaller gravel in the bottom, that will help. Always make sure if your box though doesn't have holes that you drill holes in the bottom for drainage. Okay, and then you just put some gravel in the bottom.
And you said we could also use the polymer crystals?
Yes.
And some people have also used baby diapers. They kind of shred those up, and that holds the moisture in here as well.
Yep.
Okay, now we're adding our dirt.
Yep.
So this might get a little messy here, but we're going to add dirt to our containers, and then we'll tell you about the different plants that we're going to plant. Because my container is red, I've selected some variegated leaves because I think those will give a lot of color. And of course, right now, they're going to be small plants, but they are going to go through the openings of the bird cage and peep out.
Okay.
Okay, so what do you have for your container?
Well, I brought some Dracaena and some Gerber daisies. These also will get some height. One thing also to remember when you're planting is that you want to break up the roots just a little bit at the bottom because the roots are going in a circular motion, so you want to be able to get those out.
Okay, and that's what I'm doing with mine too.
Yeah.
And I needed a little bit of height up through the top of the bird cage. So I've got mine there. And I'm adding some color too.
With some
I have
zinnias.
Yellow zinnias.
Yep. Just don't be afraid to use different colors and different textures in the garden. Just have fun with it.
Right. And I think one good way of doing this is to go to the garden center and take your container and look at the different colors that are there. I spent a little bit of time matching up different things, and I selected some coleus too to add some color because with a red container, it sometimes fights the leaves.
Yeah.
And I wanted things to look nice in the container once they really started to get settled in the container. And so don't be afraid to add that color. And I know a lot of people said, please help us so that we are not planting geraniums and impatiens all the time. And so that's what we're trying to do, is to give a little color. I selected some of this sedum, and it will have yellow in it also, and it will cascade out through the edge of the bird cage. It'll go through the
It'll be
edge.
very nice. Different texture, and the lime green color will really make it stand out well.
See how pretty that
Yes.
looks with the red?
I have chosen to put some vinca vine in the front of mine so that it trails down off of the box.
Oh, I like that. I like the vinca vine. I think I might have, well, I have a little spot for some vinca vine too. I have a trailing one here as well.
I mean, you can use just about anything you want for a container. You know, you can go with the traditional pot. You can have, you can go more whimsical, and it's like this little wooden box. I found it at a flea market. And
There, you can kind of see the trailers here. Okay, and I like to kind of finish the top of mine with a little
bit of moss.
Spanish moss. Would
Yep,
you like some
sure.
for yours? Okay. It kind of adds a little bit to the container so that it doesn't look so informal while
Right.
it's growing. So it kind of covers up the dirt, and it looks nice if people are looking down from the top of it. Okay, and of course this will get a little taller, and things will start peeping through the edges of the container. And I thought maybe I would put some of this petunia in, but I think I've got enough for right now.
Yeah, I think it's
maybe
full.
at a later date I might add some of this. And
right.
for now it's going to get started, and I think this is pretty good. I
Yeah.
also did bring a little white alyssum, which might look nice with the red.
right.
And so I might add that maybe here in the front, a little bit in the front.
Yeah, to where it hangs
Do you
out
wanna
just a little
hold
bit.
this?
Yep.
And this will really cascade down the front of that too as well, won't it? Mm-hmm. Okay. And sometimes it's good just to have a little bit of white in your garden, and that will attract the butterflies as
Yes.
well. So, there. Okay.
And just always water them well, and then you can always get some Osmocote or some Miracle Grow, and always make sure that you fertilize. Will help as well.
And one of the things we talked about too is moving your containers from place to place, and sometimes turning them as well.
Yes.
Because if you're not hanging it, you might be putting it up on a pedestal, or in this case, you might want to hang it, but
Yeah.
it looks nice from the top
Yeah.
down. And as it starts cascading, I've even seen some people put them in bird baths.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Yes.
then it's getting a little bit of water during our
Yeah.
drought, if we have another drought.
Yeah.
I don't know if we will or not. And as well as looking nice in your garden.
And you know, one of the biggest issues that we see and we hear is people saying that all my flowers didn't do well in the planter. So you always got to make sure that you look at your plant tag, make sure that you're putting all shade in one pot
Right.
and all sun, and not mixing the two together.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
And that's why I picked some of the coleus to go in there as
Right.
well. And don't forget that you have all the directions on the back.
Yeah,
watering,
yeah. Keep them. Put
sun.
them in an envelope, you know, to where they're handy. So if you have any problems or questions, you know right to where you can go to get them.
Right.
So, yeah.
That way you don't have to have them sticking in
Yes.
your arrangement.
Right.
And of course, now that we're done, when we take these back home, we're going to water them.
Sure.
You do need to water them
Yep.
to settle the soil within the container.
Yeah.
And I think we're done with our containers.
Okay.
And next we're going to be talking about things you need to do in May. And there are a number of things that our gardens and our plants need. And it's normally the time to finish your planting, as well as adding some new starters. And the weather is still cool.
Yes.
Hopefully, we're not going to have a frost, but if we do, you may need to get those tender plants out. I know I did put some herbs out and a gardenia, and I've been moving them in and out.
Oh,
in
yes.
and out.
Yes.
So annuals, you're going to be planting those out in these containers, and again, you can move these in or out. And the herbs, again, are very delicate, and the nighttime temperatures have to be at about 50 consistently, or you're going to have problems, right?
Yeah,
The only
yeah.
one that really survives that does well is the basil. But the others are so sensitive, and you don't want to lose them. And most herbs need that full sun.
Right.
And what did you tell me now about the herbs, about getting herbs?
We didn't get any there at the shop this year, but there are several places around that do have some. But now another good thing about your herbs, you can also plant them in a container so they're easily to move in and out. You know.
Good idea.
Yeah.
And you don't need that large of a container. do
No,
you?
no, no, not at all. Oh.
Okay. All right. Do you want to tell us about the bulbs?
May is a time where you're going to want to plant the warm weather bulbs, elephant ears, caladiums. You can give them a dose of bone meal now once you remove the leaves and once the blooming is done. We have all those bulbs available as well at Village Garden and Landscape.
Okay, I guess we're ready to talk about the perennials. Don't forget to mulch those and label. And we talked about labeling your plants here if you need to, your herbs. It's a good idea because then you'll know what worked for you one year and what you might want to plant again next year.
Right.
Okay, and tell us about lawns.
Things are growing very rapidly right now, and you want to make sure that you never cut more than a third of the length of the grass off. Now would be the time to put a second pre-emergent on crabgrass control. Between May 15th and June 15th, you can fertilize fescues with nitrogen as long as your soil test comes back and says that you need the nitrogen.
Okay, next we're going to be talking about the roses. You need to watch for the aphids and for fungus. The aphids can be controlled by a hard spray, and some people use their garden hose early in the morning because you certainly don't want the leaves to get wet and get moldy and get the black spot. Fertilize your established roses because they're really heavy feeders and they're going to really bloom a lot during the season. Water deeply and make sure that you're watering when we don't get rain and they're getting at least an inch of water. And
then the trees, you want to prune spring blooming trees after they bloom because you don't want to cut the bloom cycle off. You can, let's see, the newly planted shrubs and trees, you want to make sure that they're deeply watered, and you can feed azaleas and rhododendrons after they bloom. And then now would be a good time to plant vegetables as well.
Okay.
You can do the lima beans, cucumbers, tomatoes, squash. Just as if it does get cold and we get another frost, you'd want to cover them up, of course. Never use plastic, but a sheet or weed barrier.
I've got my sheets ready.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Okay. And if you have any further questions, don't forget to call a master gardener, and we have the hotline, and that will be on the screen, and that's Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, 9 to 12 and 1 to 4. And just call 271-1060 to speak to any master gardener about the questions that you have. And for further information about the Bella Vista Gardening Club, you can go to bellavistagardenclub.com, our website. And our meetings have ended for the season, but we will start again in September. And Grant, do you want to talk about the things that you brought from Village Gardening and Landscaping Company?
When you're doing your containers, you can use very different things. I mean, we have an old oil can here that you could use as a container. Also, we like putting the solar lights inside your containers.
Yeah, let's try one in there.
So
Where would you
that
place it then?
at an evening when you're setting at home and you want some light, you can still enjoy your flowers because they'll illuminate through your flowers and you can get a nice view of those. You can also add little things, like this teapot, okay, that has, you can put a tea light in it, a battery operated tea light that'll also help illuminate. We have different ones of those at the store. Some of the other different things is just using old chairs. And once again, we put the solar lights in them. We've used old boots They're well drained. You might want to drill a small hole in the bottom for some drainage. We've also used some old ladies' hats for containers. We have a purple one, and then we have a red one. Those look nice. Put them on a small table on your patio. For your golf lovers, we've got some golf shoes with the golf ball in them. Yeah.
They're my favorite.
Oh, anything whimsical, just have fun with it.
Oh, and the purse, Grant.
Oh, yes. And then we have the ladies' purse that you can just put about anything in, okay? And just use it and sit around in the garden. The old window, we just put it behind a planter box. We also have small jars inside that have little tea lights that you can light and illuminate, and the light will reflect off the glass. Okay. And then also putting a solar light inside the hanging basket is a nice little touch as well.
I like that.
Yeah, just have fun with it. Just enjoy your gardening, and
Very nice.
Yeah.
And the colors look great.
Yes.
And again, you can see we have the coleus in the hat.
Yeah.
To add a little bit of color, and the alyssum over there in the little handbag.
Yeah.
And so I think we have lots of color for this wonderful season.
Yeah.
And don't forget then about the plant sale that's coming up again May 4th, and that's at Tanyard Creek. And are there any other things that we need to talk about for May? Some things that we might want to mention about our planters here before we close for the day. The arrangements can be formal or informal, can't they?
Oh, absolutely.
And so maybe to make it more formal, what do you think we could do to add, this could be formal because of the moss we put inside.
Right.
But I've seen people add doilies, different placemats
Absolutely.
around there, lace around the top. We could add a little bit of lace. Decorative chains have become very popular
Absolutely.
for hanging. And then
and it all kind of is your container as well. I mean, your container can make it elegant or more rustic, like the box did.
Oh, and we talked about putting some legs on the bottom of this. That could make
absolutely.
it look a little more formal. You could paint it, you could stencil this,
Yeah.
and then what you could use for legs would be drawer pulls, the round ones, and they could go on the bottom, and you'd
Yeah.
have some nice little legs to
Yeah.
lift this up with.
Yeah.
So again, informal, you can go to treasure stores and find different things, or
Right.
you could paint things. And we're also looking at what else as far as the
and
containers.
If you have any problems with containers, if you have a specific container that you want help with, you can always bring it into the store at Village Garden and Landscape. We can help you design it.
Great.
We can also design it for you. Or if you come in with an idea and you like one of our displays that we have, we can always get the stuff and make one for you.
Okay,
So,
I like those golf shoes.
yes,
those
are
my favorite.
they're a big popular item.
Yes,
Yeah.
they definitely are.
Um,
Okay, and then I guess in closing, we have, what do we have here for our closing then? I think we've talked about everything that we're going to be talking about today, and hope to see you again at our next show. And again, thank you, Grant
All right,
Cameron,
thank you for having me.
coming. And Grant again is at Village Garden and Landscaping Company off of Trafalgar, and Brian Grossnickel is the owner, and he was kind enough to give you a little bit of time off to come down and show us the different things that you have at your store. So thank you again, Grant, for coming.
Thank you.